Hey everybody, my name's Emily and I'm here today to talk to you guys about canine vaccines. So just a little bit of an intro. What is a vaccine? A vaccine is a subcutaneous injection, sometimes intramuscular, that is given to your pet to stimulate their immune system artificially. What this then allows is your pet to have some form of immunity later in life when they encountered an infectious disease or a virus. So it's important to have a conversation with your veterinarian about what vaccines are necessary for either your pet stage of life, where you are in the United States, or even what you do, what kind of activities you engage in. But I think it's really helpful to go into that conversation in an educated way. That way you can make a decision as to what's best for you and what's best for your pet. So everything today that I'm going to be talking about is in light of the American Animal Hospital Association, or AAHA. This is going to be essentially a list of all of their recommendations as to what vaccines are essential and those that are not essential. So to begin, we've got core vaccines and non-core vaccines. Core vaccines are the ones that are considered most essential and most important for your pet's health. For dogs, there are only 2 core vaccines, so it's quite straightforward. The first one is DA2PP, and the second one is the rabies vaccine. DA2PP includes distemper, adenovirus 2, parvovirus, and parainfluenza. And this is a combo vaccine, so there are multiple different things that are getting covered within one injection. These are upper respiratory diseases, gastrointestinal, and then also the distemper is neurologic in terms of its symptoms. This is considered essential because it is so highly infectious, and a lot of dogs actually pass away from parvo. It's very easily circulated among populations. The next vaccine is rabies. Rabies, as I hope you have heard of before, is a zoonotic disease. I don't know if you have ever seen Old Yeller, but there's that frothing at the mouth and aggression seen there, and that's exactly what it is. It is actually the only vaccine that is required by the government. So the CDC, Center of Disease Control, puts heavy regulations on animals that are entering the United States that they need to have up-to-date rabies certificates. So really that's it. Those are our only 2 core vaccines that are most recommended by AAHA. But we also have non-core vaccines, and this is where it's really important, again, to discuss with your veterinarian based on where you live and what your pet is doing. So these can be divided into 2 categories. One would be environmental, and then the second would be socialization. So how many other dogs will your dog be around? So just to begin with the environmental vaccines, there are actually only 2 here as well. So first off is leptospirosis. And according to the AVMA, which is the American Veterinary Medical Association, leptospirosis is a zoonotic disease that presents with severe lethargy, inappetence, and an incredibly high temperature. And this, as well, unfortunately, as the rabies, vaccine that we talked about earlier, this vaccine is given because it is zoonotic as well. So not only will your pet possibly suffer from this disease, but you can too. It is found and contracted from the urine of wildlife and is usually picked up from contaminated water sources. So deer, raccoon, possums, even rats can carry this and give it to your dog. Unfortunately, this affects people that live in suburban areas or even out in the country, to people that live in the heart of New York City. Because there are rats there, their dogs are still able to pick up leptospirosis. The next of these vaccines is going to be Lyme disease. And Lyme is also, it's a vector-borne disease, and it is zoonotic as well because we get it from ticks. Same thing when you hear about people going on hikes and getting those little bullseye tick bites that indicate Lyme disease. It's the same thing for dogs. What makes this vaccine unique, though, is that it really is going to depend on your geography as to whether or not your pet will get it. So I have a visual aid here on my laptop. This was the best I could do, but this is the region of the United States that would need to be vaccinated for. So really, it is in that northeastern quadrant of the United States that is going to need or would benefit from vaccinating their dogs with the Lyme disease vaccine. So again, we're thinking about where's your pet going, but also who is your pet going to be around? So where is your dog going to be in terms of its relations with other dogs? So that's when we get into our socialization vaccines, and there are 2 of those as well. So everything goes in 2s. So with our relational vaccines, social vaccines, we have flu, which comes in 2 strains of H3N2 and H3N8. And then we also have the Bordetella vaccine, and there's only 1 of those. But with flu, it sounds just as it is, just like what we see with people. It's a high fever, coughing, sneezing, upper respiratory discharge, not wanting to eat, not wanting to drink, lethargy. So quite straightforward there. But there's 2 strains, and most people, thankfully, offer a bivalent vaccine. So you can get that from your veterinarian, where both of those strains are contained within 1 vaccine. And then finally, the last of all of the vaccines we're going to talk about today is the Bordetella. It's also known as kennel cough. Kennel cough is an upper respiratory disease that is picked up by close proximity to one another. So kennel dogs that have been kept in shelters often get this, boarding facilities, anywhere where you take your dog to the park. Those are the areas that are most susceptible to spreading Bordetella. And that's really it. That's our whole list of all the vaccines and everything that your dog could use. And again, I think it's most helpful to walk into your veterinary office with a level of understanding. And that way you can make a decision without being overwhelmed and can do what's best for you and your pet.